Hello everyone, hopefully an OK Editor 357 here, and it's no secret I like visual novels. Seeing as how I've done a few visual novel reviews so far and plan on making that one of the main things I do on this channel, I thought it would be cool to do a quick video on good free visual novels for beginners. So if you're looking into maybe giving visual novels a shot and didn't want to spend money on a medium you're not sure of yet, this video will hopefully point you in the right direction. Now, full disclosure, it's been a very long time since I've played most of these visual novels, and I'm in the middle of NonStopNovember, where I'm aiming to make a video a day, so I unfortunately don't have the time to go back and play these games to refresh my mind on them. The details on a lot of them going hazy in my mind, I'll be reading the official synopsis and then quickly talking about what I liked about them and why I think you should try it, besides the fact that they're free. Since all the visual novels on here do hold a spot near and dear to my heart since they're some of the first I've played, I do intend on going back to each of these at some point in the future and making a review on them for this channel. And maybe when that happens, I'll redo this video going more in depth on each one. Also, I'll be leaving links to the visual novels in the description. And I don't know if there are other lists or videos about free visual novels, so if there are, and some of the ones I mentioned are in those ones, I'm sorry for the overlap. I just haven't played many free visual novels in a long time, the most recent example being a visual novel I've actually done a review on and will mention in this list. I just play a lot of visual novels that cost money these days. I'm going to try and get a good variety of story genres in this list as well. All that being said, let's begin. First up, Lucid 9. Here's the synopsis taken from the visual novel database, and I apologize in advance for butchering any names or anything else in this video. Yama Ishimoto, a cynical high school student in 2018 Japan, would like nothing more than to keep his life free of school drama and hard choices. However, he's forced to face his circumstances when an eccentric detective blazes into his life, alerting him of a string of brutal murders at his school. Now, as Yama furthers his investigation, he must dig through secrets of the city, bringing him and his friends closer and closer to danger in the process. Every step leads Yama to the most unexpected and terrifying culprit. This visual novel is amazing, and unlike a lot of other free visual novels which have noticeable budget constraints, this could totally pass for a visual novel that costs at least $5, but I'd be willing to pay $10 or $15 for it. The mystery is so well done, as well as the tense atmosphere for the more intense scenes, and this is one of the first visual novels that really gripped me. Like when the main character was panicking, I was panicking. I genuinely cared what happened to these characters. The main character's development is really well done, and all the other characters in that visual novel are great, and at times can be a little tropey, but have enough depth behind those tropes to get you to love them. This is still one of my favorite visual novels. The art and soundtrack are amazing as well. Only downside is the story does end on a cliffhanger. And while we have gotten a prologue to the next installment, I believe, there is still no sequel and continuation yet. I believe the team are hard at work on it. They do this all for free and in their spare time, so I know when the sequel comes out, it's going to be an amazing time put forth by people who really care and have a love for storytelling and visual novels. On to the next visual novel. True Remembrance, and here's the synopsis taken from Wikipedia. The story begins with an introduction of its setting, a dystopian scenario set on a modern-day timeline where severe depression has become a worldwide pandemic and is given proper medical term, the dolor. The only way to combat this disease that has taken the grip of humanity is the complete erasure of the memories that has triggered depression in the patients. I can't even say the word right. Mnemnicides? I'm just gonna write it out. You can figure it out for yourself. I am not smart. Doctors with inborn telepathic powers capable of memory alteration and are specifically trained for the task are individually and periodically assigned with patients, termed as guests, to cure the latter's condition. The series of treatments takes place in a town specifically designed for that word, and guests to live together for the length of the entire medication. Black Iris is introduced as a top-notch alpha-class who takes on a guest named La. The ensuing storyline unravels the daily strides they take together and the mysterious connection that they share. So this is going to sound like a weird thing to say, but this visual novel is like listening to a music box. If that music box was a visual novel, and by listening, I meant you're playing it. Really, the atmosphere of this story is fantastic. It has a somber, but at the same time beautiful atmosphere, and its almost watercolor-like art really just engrosses you in this world plagued by depression so serious that it needs to be erased from the mind. And I'm not even on the story yet. The setting is so unique and opens the story to so many possibilities, and I'd love to see more stories set in the same world. The story itself just kind of goes through relatively mundane happenings to other mundane happenings, but it's through these events that the characters shine. The two main characters, Black Iris and Law, have such an engaging story to tell and dynamic, and I found myself just examining everything they said with extreme scrutiny to try and learn more about them. The other characters are great as well, and the story itself is very well made, and any twists or turns the story takes are foreshadowed and hinted at so well it's amazing. The story blew my mind on multiple occasions, and the ending is beautiful. There's also a redone version of it for the 3DS in Japanese with newer art, but I'd argue the original version I played is worth it because the art, as well as everything else about the presentation, really offers you a unique experience that'll stay with you, even years after you play it and maybe you forget some of the plot details. On to the next visual novel. Lynne. This is the free one I did a review on and I was talking about earlier. As such, here's the synopsis taken from Steam, and I won't spend a long time on this one, but I'll still talk about it. 15-year-old Lynne has never had the easiest life, but things have become even worse thanks to her upcoming GSCEs. Her parents are always arguing, her big sister is pregnant, and Lynne is terrified that, come exam time, she'll fail everything and disappoint her entire family. To make matters worse, Lynne's been suffering from recurring bad dreams that are cryptic, unsettling, and often violent. Curiously enough, these dreams often revolve around a girl from her school called Lynne, who looks so similar to Lynne it's almost unsettling. As Lynne's interest in Lynne begins to border on obsession, Lynne's grasp on reality begins to grow more and more tenuous. This visual novel is psychological horror, and it does it so well because the thing it transforms into its horror-filled story is everyday and relatable struggles. Feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, anxiety, whether that be because of upcoming tests or just good old general anxiety, along with other things, are all packed into this roughly hour-long story of Lynne. The writing through her perspective is so well done, and the unsettling backgrounds and sound design really got to me while playing. The ending was abrupt, something I talk about in my review, but there seems to be a reason for that. But other than that, it's a great example of horror done right, and you should definitely check it out. On to the next visual novel. Speaking of horror done right, Higurashi Chapter 1 is free on Steam, so this gets a mention, and since I'm a little more up to date on Higurashi stuff thanks to the new anime, I'm just going to tell you quickly in my own words what it's about. Keiichi Maebara has been living in the village of Hinamizawa, a rural place, not for very long. He has a great group of friends and has fun every day with them. Unfortunately, on the night of the Cotton Drifting Festival, one person he knows is found dead and another has disappeared. Keiichi finds out that this has actually been going on for the past 5 or so years on that same day, one person dying mysteriously and one person vanishing. This is known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, Oyashiro-sama being the guardian deity of the village. Keiichi starts to doubt the people around him. Are the mysterious deaths and disappearances really the work of a god, or are they the work of human hands trying to hide up a conspiracy? As Keiichi starts to doubt himself and his friends around him, things get more and more serious, and the mystery of Higurashi begins. Throughout the story of Higurashi, you're going to be trying to figure out, is it supernatural powers causing these disappearances and deaths, or is it done by human hands? The horror in Higurashi is amazing. Chapter 1 especially is paranoia-induced writing at its finest. You'll feel the terror of Keiichi as he doubts those around him and his surroundings, wondering the true nature behind the mysterious deaths that have plagued the village for the past 5 years. Along with other types of horror explored in further chapters that are some of the most disturbed a story has ever made me, the writing by Ryukishi07 is fantastic, and he is one of, if not my favorite writer of all time. He can go on and on about a bloody murder and make it sound as beautiful and elegant as it is grotesque and violent. The characters are all amazing. At first they seem like moe tropes, but have so much more character depth and compelling backstories and story arcs that flip those tropes on their head. The story of Higurashi also takes a couple anime or story tropes in general I'm not a fan of, and actually uses them amazingly, showing that it's not the concept that's bad most of the time in other mediums, but the people utilizing them. And overall, it's one of the best murder mystery stories I've ever seen. Play it and then get sucked into the other When They Cry titles like me. Not everything I said here applies to Chapter 1, but Chapter 1, as well as most other story arcs, work great as standalone stories, and there's plenty of foreshadowing and hints about the overarching mystery in Chapter 1 alone. It's Higurashi. Give Chapter 1 a try while it's free. Downside, depending on the version you play, may be the art, but there are ways of getting updated art, and I'd argue that the Manga Gamer re-releases are the ideal way to experience the story for the first time. Although the voice acting for the visual novels are fantastic, I will admit. On to the next and last visual novel. Next and last, we have May Sky, and here's the synopsis taken from the visual novel database. Here we have Mizoguchi Haruki, a newly minted salaryman who is suffering from the freshman blues, and really doesn't care about anyone around him. And over there, we have Kamiaki Minori, a world-weary young shrine maiden who, despite her giggly conversations with her school friends, really couldn't care less about any of that. When taken separately, these two individuals are malcontents, square pegs struggling to fit into round holes, adrift and alone in a society where solidarity is all that matters. When taken together, though, Well, suffice it to say, they can be pretty mean to each other. So this is a rom-com that also deals with deeper themes and conflicts that I feel a lot of people can relate to. This is honestly the visual novel on the list that I remember the least about because it's actually my first visual novel, which means it's been a while. But here's what I remember. While the Shrine Maiden Kamiyaki is kind of your typical bubbly anime girl who's also very violent with the main character, her relationship and dynamic with Mizoguchi was really endearing to watch, and seeing how it changed the two of them was such a joy. When I played Masekai for the first time, I wasn't in a place in my life where I could relate to the downtrodden Mizoguchi, but being 20 years old and having lived life a bit more, I feel like if and when I go back to play this game, I'll find myself really impacted by his story and character development. Sorry, this one's mostly a guessing game. It's cute romantic comedy, a little generic at times, but never annoyingly so. I still love the characters and the story, and it even has an epilogue fluff chapter of cute romance stuff, which, I'm gonna be real, I liked. When two characters I like get together, I like seeing their romantic day-to-day life and exploits. Only thing is, the art isn't the best, still better than anything I can do, but the CGs look fine enough, and it fits the laid-back but also cheery tone of the story. I know those two words are kind of contradictory, but that's how I describe the story. Also, as a bonus, since Higurashi Chapter 1 hasn't always and won't always be free, Narcissu. It's free on Steam, and here's the synopsis. The anonymous protagonist is diagnosed with a terminal illness shortly after his 20th birthday, and is admitted to a hospital in Mito, Ibaraki. There he meets Setsumi, a woman a few years older who is also terminally ill. Finding that they both reject to die either in a hospital or at home, they steal a car and run away together. The story is really impactful, makes you think about life, and it's relatively short. It has a very relaxing atmosphere, but emotionally provocative story, and I'm not gonna lie, it managed to make 15-year-old me bawl his eyes out. There's 2 Narcissu stories for free on Steam. They come together. I've only played the first one completely and never finished the second one. There's also many more Narcissu stories I've purchased but haven't played, and I do plan on going back to the games in the future and hopefully reviewing them. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video. This has been Hopefully an OK Editor 357 here, and tell me down below what's your favorite free visual novel, or just visual novel in general. Also, please tell me what you thought of this list. Thank you everyone for watching and seeing how this is Non-Stop November. See you guys in the next video, which will be tomorrow.